How's it, guys? This is Davey FPL and welcome back to our third official live stream. I'm glad you guys are able to join me tonight. Today is the 10K celebration, so this one's for you guys. Thanks for all the support over the channel this preseason, and I really appreciate it. I know it's a little bit soon to the 9K celebration stream, but I'm sure you guys don't have a problem with multiple streams quite close together. So thanks again for joining me, even though it was so close to the last stream. I just wanted to say thanks for the support and let's get into the stream. I'm going to start off by doing a little bit of a name check to start off the stream here. We had Han, who was first, MBG Polo was second, and Krum was third. I see there's a little bit of competition there. Ryan McKenna saying, how's it, Davey? How are you, Ryan? Hope you're good tonight. We have Chris and VR. And then we have Devin Little with gevaarlijk. Thanks a lot. And then Daniel with a yeet and also a 11K celebration live stream tomorrow, question mark. I don't think we'll be hitting 11K that quickly, but maybe one for before the game week 1 deadline. That'll probably be quite good. And then you guys are just discussing a little bit of where you want to finish in the rankings. So it's nice to see you guys interacting there. I also wanted to say that there's 2 polls on the video. So I would appreciate it if you go and vote on them. The first one being, I saw a comment on one of my videos saying that it's time for a new logo, Davey. So I won't lie, I have been looking at a new logo. So I'd appreciate it if you did go and vote on that one. I just want to kind of see what your guys' thoughts are. And then the second one is, should I release my team before the game week? I'm pondering a little bit, so I don't really know if you guys want me to release my team. It's not like I've been asked a lot, so... so that's quite interesting. Jamie Webb saying don't post your team. So thanks to Jamie, I'm not going to be posting my team, lads. I'm just joking. Thanks, Kevin. I will keep it real. Thanks, brother. And then we have a comment I saw here. Vinayak, is that how you say? He's asked me to pronounce his name. So Vinayak Ganesh. Tell me if I pronounced that right. You see, this is the thing is that, as MBG Polo says, the logo is for the OGs, but honestly, I just posted this as it was a start off in Paint, so I just kind of edited it a little bit and I threw it together, and then I was like, okay, this is a good enough logo. But now I just don't really know if it looks that professional. So I have been looking at getting a new logo, and I've been designing one myself. So maybe I'll show you guys a little bit of a preview and you guys can tell me what you think. Lucas from Sweden, nice to see you here in the stream, guys. Chaban saying, grats on 10K, Davey. Thank you, Chaban. I appreciate you being in the stream. And then we have some questions. So you're probably wondering why my team looks so kind of bland. It's that I will be releasing my team before the game week 1 deadline, so you guys don't have to worry about that. I will be releasing my team, and I'll probably will be releasing it before every single game week, so you guys don't have to worry about me not posting it. I thought that this season is for you guys, and let's win some mini leagues. So hopefully I can help you guys do some good work there. Ludwig speaking Swedish probably. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. I'll probably butcher it a little bit. Thanks, Tiago Ferreira. Congrats on 10K. I appreciate it. Yusuf asking, what do you think of Holberg? So I don't really know about him. I probably would opt for someone else like Dendonka. Oh, but I wanted to say I just have this blank team here, as that if anyone donates or we have to answer a question about that person's specific team, we can kind of just discuss it here, and I can kind of edit it a little bit according to what you guys' questions are. We have the Football Wizards here. Thanks for joining us tonight. I enjoyed your first live stream, buddy. It was quite nice, so nice to see you streaming as well. So there's been a lot of questions on Keane. That is from the Everton new striker that they've just signed. So there's been a lot of questions about him. He has been announced today, and he does cost 7 million, which for me is a little bit annoying, as I think that if he came in at 6.5 or even 6 million, he would have been a lot more appealing. I think at 7 million, being unproven in the Premier League is a little bit worrying, but I must say that having watched him last season for Juventus, especially in the Champions League and that kind of thing, he did play quite well, and he is 19, so younger than me, which is always nice to know that you are older than the young guys moving up. Kind of makes you wonder what you've been doing with your life. But in any case, I think Keane at 7 million is kind of a wait and see. As I said, a little bit annoying because Everton's fixtures are very good. So I kind of wanted to hop on one of the Everton strikers, and I think that he would have been the perfect one. He's obviously promised game time, as I've heard that he was thinking about transferring to other Premier League sides, but they simply could not offer him a first team minutes every game week, which is why he chose Everton. I think that he will win that spot. However, I don't think he's going to be playing game week 1. I think they'll probably give it to Calvert-Lewin, a similar team to how they played their last preseason game. I know their preseason is not the best, and a lot of you are probably questioning my initial drafts of double Everton defense there, but I can assure you that I probably won't be going for double Everton defense, as I just think that they're looking a little bit less trustworthy. But again, we can't really look that much into preseason. So we have Mohammed saying, aware, how's it? Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Wilson, or Fraser and King. I'm just a big advocate for Wilson at the moment, and I think that he's looking in great form and he should deliver a lot of FPL points. So I'd probably opt for Wilson and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's the other big signing today, is Harry Maguire has made the move to Manchester United. Another talking point there, as I have been saying, that if Manchester United signed a better centre-back, they could be quite appealing. Their fixtures are quite nice, especially this middle little run. And I think with the investment into their defence of Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Maguire, they should shore up that defence a little bit and get those nice clean sheets. I think that they're probably going to be heavily owned just due to the fact that Manchester United is probably the most supported club in the world. So a lot of people kind of want to get players that they support in their FPL squads. So they're probably going to be quite high owned, and it could be quite a game week damper if Man United do keep a clean sheet. So maybe for a little bit of coverage, we could get one of these two in. Probably would get Aaron Wan-Bissaka just for the little bit of attacking threat. However, Maguire is very good at set pieces, so it's kind of a little bit of a toss-up there. And I think either one should be good. And I think that 80 million is quite a lot for Maguire, but hopefully he delivers what Manchester United need. We have best 7.5 midfielder Lucas Moura with the punt. So Lucas Moura is quite an interesting one because Dele Alli has just gotten injured and he should be out for around a month. I think Pochettino said. So you could be looking at Lucas Moura as a spot. The nice thing about Lucas Moura is that I was kind of questioning to bring him in, as it's a little bit of a punt for 2 weeks, as Son should be back. But now with Dele Alli gone, it looks like that he could kind of play quite a few games for them. And he's looking quite a nice option at 7.5. Obviously, Spurs have this nice home fixture against Aston Villa to start off with. But then Manchester City second. Arsenal away is not the worst, as it does not look like Arsenal will be investing in their defence this transfer season. So a little bit worrying as a Arsenal, if you're an Arsenal fan, as I think they'll be conceding a lot of goals like they did last season. So this fixture to me is not bad at all. I think that Arsenal are quite defensively not the best, so I think that anyone can score. Matt saying, Dave, is Wilson and King too much? Wilson and King is probably what I'll be going for, so I don't think so. I've seen a lot of people with Wilson and Fraser, or King and Fraser, as a kind of double up, but I'll probably be going for Wilson and King. I don't really know about Solanke. It looks like he's got a couple of preseason minutes and looks to be a little bit on form, and it seems that that they like to bring him on as a sub around the end of the game. So I hope that he kind of is a bench player and a more impact player, and that Wilson and King don't lose their spots. But I just think that probably Wilson over King, but I think the double up isn't the worst in the world, especially due to the budget strikers being a little bit weird and who to pick. Trossard or Pereira. That's Trossard's the Brighton winger who's kind of scored quite a bit and been quite appealing this preseason. He looks like a good option. I think it's cheap enough to take a punt on if you know Brighton well and kind of just want to go for a little bit of a differential player. I also see that Brighton have just announced about 30 minutes ago that they have signed a new striker. So if you do have Glenn Murray in your squads, that looks a little worrying, as it looks like this new striker has been someone that they've wanted to sign for a while. So if you do have Glenn Murray in your side, just something to maybe be a little bit cautious about. I know that they kind of played him every home game, but then away games they would rotate him out. So it could be something to look at. Please give your inputs on Bernardo Silva. So Bernardo Silva, for those of you who did not watch the Community Shield yesterday, I did a little bit of a summary over on my Twitter page at Davey FPL. I hope most of you are following me on there, as I have been a little bit active on there recently. So in that Man City lineup, Bernardo Silva played on the wing with Raheem Sterling up front. I don't really know if that's going to be a continuation thing. I think that Raheem Sterling will probably move to the right-hand side or the left-hand side, depending on if Sané is still injured. And then Aguero will play up front, or Jesus. So Bernardo Silva will hopefully play on the wing and keep his spot there. And then the midfield will stay kind of similar. But I've seen a lot of people kind of having KDB and Bernardo Silva to cover Sterling almost. Maybe not cover is the right word, but they've kind of have both of those in their teams as a way to kind of fill up on that Man City attack. I think Bernardo Silva could be a good option. I think that you might just want to stretch your budget maybe a little bit to KDB. I rate Bernardo Silva as a player, but maybe not as an FPL option that much. However, if Sané is confirmed out, I think that he's worth enough to take a punt for. A Man City attacker at 8 million is not the worst in the world, but considering there are other players that potentially could score maybe above 200 points for them, being the likes of KDB and Raheem Sterling, I probably would maybe fill that spot with a cheaper alternative, maybe someone like the likes of Perez or Tielemans or something like that. So thoughts on Martial's playtime. Now it does look like Lukaku is on his way out. The news about Dybala is that Manchester United are not chasing him anymore, and that transfer seemed to fall in through a little bit. So I think that Martial probably will be playing in that lineup for Manchester United. He was playing as a centre forward, but I think that spot is going to go down to Marcus Rashford. He's just signed a new contract in this transfer window, so I can't really see him being replaced. I think that they'll go for Martial maybe on the wing and Rashford up front, and then maybe the new signing James on the other wing. So Martial is an interesting option. It's another thing about it. All depends if Manchester United kind of get off the bat quite hot, and they show that form that they showed towards the middle of last season where they were scoring a lot of goals. But I think that maybe there's other options than Martial. However, if you kind of have 7.5 in your bank and you want to go for someone a little bit different, I'd probably opt for him. FPL Rubber Ducky saying he would leave United alone game week 1. That is true. However, I think that a lot of us are kind of maybe overlooking the Chelsea and Manchester United options a little bit just because they are playing each other in game week 1. I know, especially even me, that I kind of think that if they have a tough starting fixture, they're not really in my lineup. And if I can't really see that many goals within probably the 4 clean sheets, then I probably would duck. We have another comment here about opinions on Barkley. So I know you guys will be excited that I'm releasing my top 6 preseason players tomorrow. So all of you people who want to know about Barkley and that type of thing, that video will be up tomorrow and you guys can get my honest opinion on them. But right now I'll just give a little bit of a summary. I kind of think that he's worth a punt as he is 6 million, but I just don't know about his minutes, as in the last preseason game he was on the bench and only came on in the 82nd minute. But if Lampard has come out and said that Barkley is in his plans for the future, then I would look at him. Then we have Edwin Gold saying Cancelo is now a City player, which could be a little bit of breaking news. I will go on Twitter and check for you guys, as that is probably going to change our plans quite a lot, as If he does come in, I believe he is a right back, so that should maybe see some rotation with the fullbacks. But I think if Man City sign Cancelo, then that's pretty much a great signing. In the Champions League last season, I did not really know why he was not playing. As far as I was concerned, he was one of the best fullbacks for Juventus. So we could be looking at some rotation there for the fullbacks. So if Cancelo is coming in, then that Man City lineup will look absolutely crazy. So I will probably be kept updated on there. Ryan McKenna saying Walker will be moved to centre-back. Maybe if they play a 3 at the back, I don't know if he would play in a back 2. I think they'll probably trust Laporte and Stones or Otamendi. I must say that Stones did look quite impressive yesterday in the Community Shield, so definitely could opt for him. And hopefully Laporte is back, as that 100% shores up that Man City defense. And then we have another question here from Alessandro Riva saying Cancelo can't defend to save his life, can attack well though. Well, probably a little bit of stereotyping, but it sounds like you definitely probably sound like Italian or something, so you probably know more than me about him. Then we have Den Dale with the £1 super chat donation. I appreciate it, brother. I think this is your second time donating to the channel, so you are a continued supporter of the channel, and I appreciate you a lot. Thanks for donating and getting your name up on the super chat. Hope you enjoy this stream and hope to have a great FPL season with you. We have quite a couple people asking about Haller from West Ham. Obviously, the new signing for the biggest signing yet, the most expensive signing for West Ham. So we can take a look at him. I know that the fixtures for West Ham are like looking quite nice, so we could opt for him. He does come in at 7.5, so a little bit above the budget, other budget options. Comes in around the same price as Jimenez. So a potential plan that you could do is bring him in, maybe play him for the Man City game. That is quite a tough fixture, probably the toughest fixture this season. So you could bring him in here and kind of keep him around till probably around game week 6. And then you'll probably see that Jimenez could potentially come in if he does not stay injured. He has picked up a little bit of a knock, but the severity of it has not been announced as of yet. I don't think. Maybe I'm a little bit ignorant on that news, but you can probably bring him in around game week 6 then, so a direct swap. So you can kind of have a little bit of a punt on Haller and then swap to Jimenez when Wolves have some better fixtures. Still not the best, but this is a whole lot better than their opening 5. So that could be an option for you. And if you're looking at someone to take a massive punt in, then I would recommend probably Haller. He looks to be the type of hold-up player that will get assists as well for his West Ham players. Another West Ham player you probably will be looking at is Lanzini. He has scored 3 goals, if I'm not mistaken, this preseason, so you could look at him. We have a question here, De Gea with a punt. I personally think that I would probably stick with someone like Maguire or Aaron Wan-Bissaka instead of De Gea. I don't think there's going to be much rotation between Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Maguire in that Manchester United lineup, so you don't really have to worry about rotation. And I'm always going to favor an outfield player for the same price as the keeper. It's just simply why I don't have players like Edison or Alisson in my lineups, as I just think that I would rather have the outfield players than a keeper who's probably only going to get a couple save points and not many assists. So then we have a question on Ceballos. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He comes in at 5.5, and I've seen a lot of talk about him potentially being that cam spot for Arsenal. I think it's down to if he gets the minutes, he probably will get the points. I think that Arsenal attack is looking very threatening with Lacazette, Aubameyang, and the newly signed Pepe. So you could take a punt. It's the same thing with Barkley, kind of. Ceballos is worth taking a punt on just because he's so cheap, and you can even bench him every now and again if you don't think he's going to get many points and that kind of thing. So we have Jamie Hughes asking Kyle Walker-Peters to start. I had him in my draft initially, and I just think that he'll probably come into my squad if I have no other punts, as I think that he probably will be rotated when Foyth comes back from injury. So it's a potential rotation risk there, but probably a punt worth for the first game week. I just don't know about a punt for the first game week, as I definitely won't be playing him against Manchester City. So it kind of, I'm at a little bit of a contradiction between a punt and kind of just leaving him out of my squad. Then we have Malik Chelsea asking if will I raid Area 51? I will raid it if you buy my plane ticket to America. But we can get a nice little FPL chant going there as we raid into that restricted area. So Scott Brown asking Coleman again in chat just here. Sounds like you want me to talk about Coleman. So I think that if you are a little bit stretched on the budget, I think he's probably one of the best 5.5 options. You're asking if he is injured. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, he was not injured at last time I looked at him. But the thing is that they are apparently going to sign Sidibe, who is also a fullback, which probably will provide some competition for Coleman, as Sidibe is a very good fullback. So probably going to be some rotation there, and he might even lose that spot to Sidibe come the start of the season, or probably a little bit more on, as if they do make a signing now, they probably won't integrate him as soon as possible. And that's one thing that I want to let you guys know, is that if there are any signings from now till the start of Game Week 1, even signings that have already occurred, they probably won't be playing Game Week 1. It's just that a thing about managers, that they don't really integrate the players that quickly. If you look at players like I'll talk about my team that I support, Liverpool. If you take them into account, Jurgen Klopp takes forever to integrate a new player into the squad. And I don't think the players are going to come straight into Game Week 1, maybe Game Week 2, but I wouldn't be bringing in any particularly new players from now to the start of Game Week 1, as it's a little bit too risky. FPL Rubber Ducky saying Wolves fixtures are not great. I agree with that. That's probably in a response to Zane's question, is Jota a good pick? I do think that Jota is a good pick. I just think that Wolves' fixtures are a little bit tough, and I'm just going to wait to see how they kind of spread the squad with the Europa League this season. I think that Jota is cheap enough so that he can kind of have a couple price rises, and we still can afford him come the middle of the season. Michael Bryant asking, is Rashford a good pick? I think if you want to go mega differential, and maybe if you're a supporter of Manchester United and you want one of their players in your squad, I do think he'll be their centre forward this season, especially with Lukaku on the way out. So looks a calculated punt. If you can pick up some nice form come the start of the season, could be worth looking at. But I just think that maybe there's other cheap alternatives like King or someone like that you could look at. However, it's not as exciting as going for someone like Rashford in that Manchester United side. So we have some questions on Pepe. So I think Pepe, as I said, will probably miss Game Week 1. And then we're going to kind of see where he plays, probably on that wing, and then Lacazette up top with Aubameyang on the other wing. So we could look at him, but I think right now it's probably better just to take a punt on KDB, as they're the same price, and then you kind of just switch them in and out. Then we have Mountain New asking, is Christensen nailed? So you're probably going to have to ask a Chelsea fan in the chat, but as far as I'm concerned, it's probably going to be, I thought that Kurt Zouma was going to be a good centre-back for them, but apparently that he's not favoured at Chelsea. So you're probably looking at David Luiz and Christensen until Rudiger comes back. So I would probably say that the safest option to go for is probably David Luiz, or the likes of Azpilicueta, or you could even go for someone like Emerson. Emerson seems to have won that spot. Emerson has seemed to have won that spot there at fullback, replacing Alonso. So that could be another potential option for you guys at 5.5. Otherwise, I think the safest option in that defense is probably Azpilicueta. But unfortunately, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. Okay, so Scott Brown saying Kurt is favoured. So Kurt Zouma, great defender, and I'm happy that he's getting a chance at Chelsea. So it could be an option to go for there. But as I said, probably Azpilicueta or Emerson if he is nailed. Harry Kane, another one. Harry Kane is a good option in my opinion. I think that I'm just struggling a little bit to fit him into my squad. But I think if you can spread your budget and fit a premium striker in, then Harry Kane is a good shout. The one thing to note is you could probably go for Aubameyang and do a switch later on. I think Aubameyang probably has better fixtures to start off with, But if you have faith in Kane, and I think personally Kane is going to have a great season, I think he's going to be in the running for that golden boot again. So, but I'm probably going to be a little bit of a wait and see. And then once Son comes back, I probably will be looking at Son. Okay, now we have a new donation from Play Story. He has donated £1.5. I appreciate it, brother. Thanks for joining the stream tonight. I hope you have a cracking FPL season, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks a lot for the donation and supporting the channel. And we have some questions here, Maguire or Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I personally would go for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Just think that he offers maybe a little bit more attacking threat, and he is a great option for bonus points. He absolutely loves a tackle, and that certainly rewards him in that bonus points stats. So we have Todd Carlson asking, will you show your final team before deadline? You can vote in the poll, and then you can see if I will release it, but I probably will. Don't worry about it. Tom Otto saying, why no Trent Alexander-Arnold? I don't know if you're talking about my team that I have on the screen here. This screen is just for if someone wants me to show their team or donates and asks me to answer a specific question based on their squad. I can just kind of put it up quite easily. Edison is safest option in City defense. It's one of those things where you kind of, if you want to pay for that kind of assured starter, you kind of have to show a little bit more money to them. So that's what I kind of think. Okay, so Playlist Story is saying, please review my squad. So can you just post it again, and then I'll put it up. I don't think I'm going to find it in the chat if I have to go up and scroll up. So we have Yash saying, target Gilbert or El Mohammadi from Aston Defence. I personally would go for Gilbert. He looks like a great player, nailed in that fullback spot and looks very attacking. So I think that I'll kind of opt for him if I was to go for him. He's kind of been the 4.5 player that I've gone for, as Aston Villa have some very nice fixtures to start off with. Thoughts on Jollington and Coutron? So new signings in the Premier League, I probably would opt for a little bit of cheaper alternatives, and then we can kind of look on from there. Okay, so we have Playlist Stories team here. So I'm going to put it up on the screen, and we can kind of look at it and then make some discussions. So he has also opted for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then he has Trent Alexander-Arnold on the bench. I'm probably going to talk about Trent a little bit, as I've seen a couple of questions about Trent, probably coming from that Community Shield game that wasn't the best for the young Englishman. But I personally think that he probably will be doing quite well. Come the start of the Premier League, I don't think we can look into that too much, as again, it's probably just a little bit of a hiccup. And as I said in the tweet that I kind of shared on Twitter, that they won't be coming up against the likes of Salah and Sterling every game week. So in my opinion, they're probably the two best attackers from that wing that you can find in the Premier League. So I think that we got to kind of give them a little bit of slack, as they won't be facing those players every week. And I think that Trent Alexander-Arnold still offers great attacking threat, and I personally think that he's a great option. Probably would go for Robbo in my opinion, but I think that in terms of other options, you can kind of go for them. Okay, wrong players. I think that I copied the exact team that you did. Okay, you just have Fraser and Pulisic. Sorry. I just was reading the screen below you. Okay, so you don't have Bernardo Silva, you have Fraser. You have Fraser, and then you have Pulisic. Okay, that should be the right team there, if I'm correct. So if we go for this team, right off the bat, I see that you have Lundstrom. That is someone that I've seen a couple of comments on. So I think that Lundstrom is probably our safest 4.0 defender. You could probably go for someone else like Martin Kelly, but I'm just concerned a little bit as he has been playing centre-back, and as soon as Sacco and Tompkins come back, he's going to be in contention there to lose the spot. So if I had to base this team, I like the defense. I think that you've gone for a 4 at the back, and then you probably will play Lundstrom whenever he has a good fixture. Lundstrom, for those of you who don't know, is playing out of position as a midfielder for Sheffield United, so that could be a good option there. A question, is McGovern set to start? As far as I know, I think that Tim Krul was playing a lot of preseason, so he will probably be their number one starter. I think that Playlist Story has just kind of had McGovern in here as a little bit of an alternative to the common button. We have Salah Sterling, which I like, and then you've gone for a triple up on the Bournemouth attack. I don't know how I feel about a triple up. If you are a Bournemouth fan, then you could kind of maybe go for it, but I think that a double up is fine. I think that what you could do here is you can maybe change King to another 6.5. Pulisic, that's an interesting pick. I think that he's probably guaranteed to start in the Premier League. Okay, you say you're a United fan. Okay, that could be understandable with Aaron Wan-Bissaka in there. But I think with Pulisic, it's an interesting punt. But I think you got to kind of admit that it is a punt that you're going for, and he is not probably nailed totally. I think that what I probably would do here is, if you're looking at one of the Bournemouth attackers, if you can either take away King or Fraser, the best. Okay, you're planning to transfer a Bournemouth player out before game week 3. So that could work. I think that's, as long as you have a plan. What I wanted to say is that if you could go for Fraser, I'd probably take him to one of the Leicester midfielders. You can go for anyone from Maddison, Perez, or Tielemans, but I think that my personal preference is Perez, so that could save you 1 million again. And then you could maybe upgrade Zinchenko to Walker or Laporte for a little bit more of safety there. Obviously, I'm talking that if Zinchenko becomes under rotation and they do sign this Casello or someone like that. But in my opinion, it looks quite good. I actually really like the Pulisic pick. I think that it's something different to what most people have. It's almost like the pick of Martial. So if you want to kind of stick with this team, I see no problem with it, and I'm really happy that you do have a plan ahead. The one thing that I could probably say is that maybe if you did downgrade Fraser to someone like Perez and you save the 1 mil, then I could upgrade Dendoncker. I wouldn't upgrade Greenwood because there's not that many great 5.5 strikers, but if you look at the likes of 5.5 midfielders, then you can kind of have a kind of player on your bench that is almost guaranteed to start if someone like Lundstrom doesn't play all the games. And personally, I think that Greenwood has kind of fallen out of favor. I think it's been the classic almost, they play preseason, but then as soon as the normal season starts, they kind of disregarded. I think that Martial and Rashford will probably rotate that centre forward spot. We could see Greenwood in the occasional games, but they'll probably save him for the cup competitions, and then obviously there's no FPL for that. So I really like the team. I don't think you have much wrong with it. The defense looks very strong, and I like the Pope pick. Pope will probably be someone that I go for as well. So I don't think there's too much bad with it. As I said, as long as you have a plan to kind of deal with the Bournemouth attack going into game week 3. So then another question from Samir is VDV or Trent Alexander-Arnold. So with Trent Alexander-Arnold, as I said with the Community Shield game, there are a little bit of concerns about him, especially with him coming off at 60 minutes. And in my tweet on Twitter, I expressed this, that I think that what Klopp could do is that around the 60-minute mark, as soon as Liverpool are looking a little bit comfortable, that like if they are 2 up or 3 up or that kind of thing, then you can easily see Trent Alexander-Arnold being substituted for someone like Joe Gomez, or Matip coming on for Trent Alexander-Arnold and Gomez being shifted out wide. I think that that could reduce his minutes greatly, and you all know in FPL we want more minutes, and then that equals more FPL points. So we have Scott Brown saying Pope is injured. I think that he did recover from injury in the last preseason game, so I think that Pope should be nailed on and should be that number one kind of goalkeeper at Burnley. Andrew Murray saying Ben Gibson, is Tarkowski staying at Burnley? That is yet to be seen. I think that Leicester will probably make a new signing at centre back, and it looks like Tarkowski is their number one pick. So if he does get transferred out, it's just going to have to be a factor of if Ben Gibson or Kevin Long, as I think that Kevin Long was a little bit injured, so that's why he didn't play that game. But then Playlist Story saying high chance of clean sheets for Trent Alexander-Arnold if he subbed off, and that's exactly what I said in my tweet. I said that we have this like little caveat where he is being substituted early, but that might save us from those clean sheet points if Liverpool do concede later on. And in the Premier League, that is probably a high chance of conceding later on, as it's such a competitive league. We have Kieran Brooks saying, hey Davey, how are you doing? Thanks so much for joining in tonight. How do you see Moise Kean? I think that it's probably a little bit of a wait and see. I do think he'll be the number one striker at Everton, but I don't think he'll probably be starting game week 1. I think that Everton will play a similar style or team that they ended the preseason with, and that then they'll start to integrate Kean as the season goes on. Another thing is that he could take some time to adjust to the Premier League. I know that it's quite a fast league and physical one to get into. That's no disrespect to the Serie A, obviously. Rajesh asking, investing 11 million on Kane is worthy, or should I upgrade my midfield and buy normal strikers? So I think that if you can kind of fit, if you want Sterling, or if you are willing to sacrifice Sterling for someone like KDB to get Kane in, I think that that's a fine strategy. I just think that you have to have one of Salah or Sterling as a captain option, and then you can fit in Kane. And if you're happy with the rest of your squad, then you should be fine. The one thing that you can do is you can kind of go for a back 3 and then kind of fill up these two spots with a 4 million and a 4.5, and then you should be adding quite a good amount of budget for your strikers. I see that you've added Pulisic. That's just because I was reviewing a chat, so we could kind of go over someone's team. Then we have Nitride with 35 Rand. I appreciate it. Hey Davey, would you suggest buying Ronaldo? I'm a really big Arsenal fan. I don't know if you're talking about an FPL or if you're talking about Arsenal signing Ronaldo. But 100%, I think that you should bring Ronaldo in right now and captain him every single game week. Thanks so much for the donation, brother. I really appreciate the support for the channel, as I can't even talk tonight. The one asking me, which animal is your channel logo? I don't know if it's an animal, but maybe that is a sign to kind of change it, as I don't want to be representing my channel with a picture of an animal. So thanks for that comment, the one, and thanks again Nitride for the donation. Rudvig saying a lol banter, so that's a little bit of credit to Nitride there. Do you know if Laporte's knock is serious? He's set to start, so I think that with that, Pep Guardiola came out and said that he should hopefully be playing the next game, which is game week 1. I just think that it was a little bit of a knock, and it's a Community Shield game, so not many people want to kind of, not many managers want to kind of risk players in a almost preseason friendly, even though it was for a trophy. But if you know what I'm saying, like we saw James Milner being rested, and I think Laporte was kind of on the same track. I think that what's going to happen is we're going to have these press conferences, and these are going to enable us to kind of get our last minute news. I will be trying to hold my team. I will be uploading my Game Week 1 preview towards the end of the week, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, and then I probably, if I'm not streaming, I probably will upload a final video for you guys to just kind of show you my team for the Game Week 1 deadline. So I know a lot of you have been asking me this question in chat, but you don't have to worry. I will be uploading my team for you all. Dali Paul saying Sterling or Kane. I'd go Sterling. I just think that he's a little bit more in form, and I think that with Kane, I always kind of worry about him dropping back a little bit. Tiru saying, hey Davey, I'm a big fan. You're the best FPL YouTuber. I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you were able to join us for this live stream this afternoon if you are there, or it's an evening stream for me. Igor saying Coleman plus Walker or Digne plus Zinchenko. That's a tough one. I probably would go Digne and Zinchenko, but I think if you're going to go for a little bit of safety, maybe bring in Walker. BG100 saying buy Davey Zaha. So it does look like Zaha might be staying at Crystal Palace. I know that there's a rumor that Everton launched a £65 million bid today. So it's going to be down to see if they accept that. But I think if Zaha does get transferred to Everton, that'll be quite an interesting option personally, as I think that he will be guaranteed to start most fixtures. And then it kind of gives us that entrance into that Everton attack without the likes of maybe Moise Keane. Harry Sadler saying, did you see Mendy's tweet in response to someone asking about FPL that you should put him in your teams and he's going to play? So I think that you might just take that one with a little bit of pinch of salt, as Mendy is kind of a social media personnel, and I think that he might be a little bit more optimistic than, say, Pep Guardiola is. I think sometimes players think that they're going to be fit and raring to go, but then the manager's like, okay, let's just calm it down a little bit and we'll integrate you later on. But it's one of the reasons why I'm not 100% sure on Zinchenko, as I think that once Mendy comes back, then it's going to be quite disappointing for most of us Zinchenko owners. As Fantasy Football Focus said, Mendy is a joker. So as I said, just take everything with a little bit of pinch of salt. Jared Hamlin asking about João Cancelo. So once that transfer gets kind of finalized, then we can look at it. But you know, with the newspapers these days, we might not have the best news. But I think that if Man City want a player, they'll be getting him. So if you kind of have faith in that Man City transfer budget and everything, then you could probably look at him. I think that he's a great attacker, but apparently he doesn't defend that well. So we could be looking at him as an option. Dayvy, score predictions for game week 1. Are you asking me about the games or something like that? Dazu saying, love you, brother. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Fantasy Football Focus saying, is this the toughest season to make decisions in because of the prices being high? The thing is, it's probably not the hardest, as all of us have kind of the same budget, but I do find it that I'm quite stuck with kind of trying to figure out my budget, but it does make it a little bit more interesting. And towards the start of game week 1, we'll probably all be a little bit settled more on teams. And I think it's a little bit of retrospective that just because we in the preseason now and we've kind of been making all our drafts, that we kind of forget the previous seasons and what's happened. Seville saying Kyle Walker-Peters starting. He should be starting until a player like Foyth is returned from injury. Pereira of Watford. Harmandeep asking, I think that he could be an option. I think that with Watford, they start off the season usually quite well, so you could go for a player like him. You'll see in my video dropping tomorrow about my preseason, my favorite preseason players, that I do cover a Watford striker there that is not Dini or Delafeu, so I can probably give it away right there. But so I think that it's going to be interesting to see who starts up front. But Pereira is always a good option, and he's very skillful one. So you could opt for him. I don't see a lot of people opting for him. So that should be an interesting punt. Kartik saying, congrats on the 10K, bro. Do you think this is going to be close to your final draft? This isn't my draft. This is just someone who donated, and I put their team up on the screen. So I'll probably take it off now so that it doesn't confuse all you guys. We just kind of were talking about this squad and what changes the player could make. BG100 asking what's going on with Sadio Mane. So with Sadio Mane, he has returned today from the African Cup of Nations. He came back to the Liverpool training ground, and he should be back for maybe game week 2 or game week 3, but he probably will be missing game week 1, as I think that just due to his vacation and him coming back so late, he's probably going to be integrated a little bit later, and his fitness will be kind of monitored until he returns to the fitness that Klopp requires. As you must remember, Liverpool play a very strenuous style of press, so you don't want your players to kind of be underfit, as you can kind of that's almost a set sign that there's going to be injuries occurring. Aaron saying, you never walk alone from Anfield, from Thailand, sorry. Love your videos. Thanks a lot, Aaron. I really appreciate it. Raul saying, will Zaha play? I think he will play if he does stay at Crystal Palace, but if he does make the transition to another club, they could monitor his fitness a little bit and kind of put him in the squad a little bit later on. Brighton's Locadia, a good budget enabler. He does look like a good option playing on that wing. He could probably play that centre forward position once they kind of drop Glenn Murray, or Glenn Murray gets a little bit tired. They have Watford, West Ham and Southampton to start off with, which aren't the worst fixtures in the world, especially because they have these first 2 home fixtures. So you can kind of maybe go for the option of him. I think that you maybe could stretch the budget a little bit and go for this Trossard. He looks to be in great form and someone that I definitely will be looking at. So we have another donation here, this one being an actual donation from Sam. He says, what do you think about Pickford, TAA, Laporte, Alderweireld, Bernardo Silva, Fraser, Sigurdsson, Tielemans, Kane, Origi, Aubameyang? Okay, so let me just make this team. Forgive me, I'm not going to put Button in here, as I think that any 4 million player is kind of worth it, and you're not going to be playing them particularly. So then we have Trent Alexander-Arnold, who comes into the lineup along with Laporte. So you're probably hoping that Laporte stays fit. Then we have Alderweireld, which is an interesting pick. I haven't seen him in many drafts. And then we have Bernardo Silva coming in along with Siggy from Everton. And then Tielemans, the Leicester man who's just signed that permanent deal with Leicester. Then we have Kane. You're going with a punt on Origi. And then you have a Aubameyang. Okay, so this looks like you have stacked the forwards up, and then we're going to go for Wan-Bissaka on the bench along with Dendoncker and Lundstrom. So I think I'm just missing one of your midfielders here. Oh, you've gone for Fraser. Okay, right off the bat, this looks like quite a creative team. I don't really know what to think, as I've kind of been going for Salah and Sterling almost for every single draft that I've gone for. So it's nice to see a little bit of variation, and I think that this team could go well for you. I think that maybe, unless you probably have a plan for Origi, but if you don't have a plan for Origi, it might be not worth kind of filling up the spot. Maybe just drop him to a 4.5 or a cheaper alternative. But if you're going to just be taking a punt for the starting game weeks, I think that's a good punt to go for. I like the Tielemans and the Siggy pick, but you've gone for kind of a downgraded midfield with the aims of upgrading your forwards of Kane and Aubameyang. I like this team as it's different. This is the thing about when you create FPL content and kind of see a lot of drafts, is you kind of are attracted to anything that is almost a little bit different. I think your defense looks very good, very strong. I like the Alderweireld pick, as it's a little bit different to some of the fullbacks. Pickford, the one thing I will say is I think that I don't know if it's worth having Pickford. I think that it's probably worth maybe to invest in someone like Coleman, as they're both the same price. And if you're going to be thinking who's going to be getting more points, Coleman or Pickford, I would probably reckon Coleman would. So you can maybe downgrade him to a 4.5. But if you are set on Pickford, as you think he's a good keeper, he is good. He came third in the points last season. Then I would just stick with him. As I said, very nice defense. The midfield looks good. The only thing that I might be concerned about is the Man City option. I don't think Bernardo Silva is the best Man City option, and I think with Man City we kind of have to invest in them. But if you set on not investing on them, and that's kind of your strategy, then I think this team is looking overall quite good. I'm very jealous of you because you have Kane and Aubameyang in your squad. They should be getting a lot of points this season. I just don't know if they're going to be getting the likes of points of Salah and Sterling. I think that the one thing is that you don't really have, unless with Trent Alexander-Arnold, but and probably Origi to start. But if Salah goes massive in game week 1, I think that you're probably going to find it a little bit hard to kind of climb up the ranks again. And the thing you have to kind of note is that if you're going to be wanting to bring Salah back in, you're probably going to have to destroy your lineup a little bit. I'm saying that probably downgrade Kane or Aubameyang to someone cheaper and then upgrade someone like Bernardo Silva. But overall, if you are confident with this team and you think that it's good, then I think that probably just go for it. I think that there's enough players and premium players in here to get you the points that you should be getting. So I like it. I appreciate the donation as well. I hope that I probably haven't given that much advice on it, but I hope that it's been adequate and maybe given you some things to tinker a little bit. But as I said, go for it. If you keep onto this lineup and we have a stream after game week 1, I want you to send me your team ID and then we can all revel in your mastery if this team goes off. I think you should only show your team to stream viewers and not post a video of it until past the changes deadline. I could do that. I just think that that potentially if I kind of am trying to gain stream viewers, then I could opt for that. But I just don't know if it's worth it. I think that I've built my community on my videos, so I appreciate the kind of suggestion. But I probably will just be creating a video as I'm generally not a streamer, but a more YouTuber. So Kartik saying, if you had to create your final draft today, what would it look like? So I'll do it like right now here for you, since you asked so nicely with that lovely £5 donation. Thanks, Kartik. I hope you're enjoying the stream, buddy, and thanks for supporting the channel. So as I said, I'm favoring Perez quite a lot. I wouldn't have Fraser. I would have Salah and Sterling. So these are, and unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to downgrade the lovely combo of Kane and Aubameyang. So then we have Origi, taking him out. I'm just going to put Greenwood in here, but I probably will downgrade him or swap him out for another player later on. Lundstrom will stay in. I'll swap TAA for Robbo. And then I will bring in the likes of Zinchenko. I know that this is probably a little bit of a player that we're going to have to be monitoring in the coming days, but I'd go for Zinchenko. And then I'm trying to think of, I think I had Digne. I'll have Digne as well. And then let's just put Gilbert in as a little bit of a punt. I think then we can kind of upgrade the striking positions. We're going to have Wilson and King as my kind of combo. I think that that's an adequate centre forward pairing. And then the one thing that I wanted to do, if I had to probably downgrade, I think I would take Gilbert out. Sorry, Gilbert, for spending so little time in my lineup. And then I'd probably go Siggy to KDB. Oh, I can't even type tonight, guys. So that would probably be my lineup if I had to make my draft right now. This would probably be my draft that I would go for. I think that is pretty... Let me actually just say make transfers and then we can look at it a little bit more. Okay, this changes things quite a bit. So I wouldn't have Pickford, I would have Pope. My bad, sorry for kind of showing that draft and then not noticing that Pickford was in it. And then with that 1 mil, I could upgrade. I would keep Lundstrom in and then I would go probably Walker Peters. So let's just have him in the squad. And then this is... I would swap out McGovern for... And that's probably how I would start out. Salah captain, Sterling vice captain, sub Robbo for Lundstrom. And then this would probably be my lineup come game week 1. So what do you think about this team, guys? Is it fun or is it adequate? Is it up to your guys' standards or what do you think I could change in it? This was down to Kartik, so you can thank Kartik for donating and saying I must do a draft as you guys have finally got what you asked for. So thanks, and I hope this is an adequate draft for you, Kartik. Okay, Love FPL says, looks like mine. Great minds think alike there, Love FPL. The one saying the team so close to mine again. Great minds think alike as well. Has Pope performed well? He hasn't performed badly, and the thing is, Burnley are always stereotypically quite strong defensively, so that's who I'm kind of looking at. Gunners97 asking Barkley plus Digne or King plus Coleman. So I would probably opt for... I think I have to go with King and Coleman there. I think King is just too nailed and too renowned for goals that you have to go for him. Nazcon saying, Davey, why KDB? I just was kind of impressed with KDB in yesterday's game. He was getting forward so much. He was making runs in behind the defenses, and it wasn't the usual kind of KDB that we all used to. He was making plenty of forward runs, so I think that kind of is worthy of bringing him in my squad. The nice thing is you can kind of downgrade him to whoever you want and then upgrade. Now, a lot of people are asking... Walker Peters, I just have him in my squad here. He's a 5 mil player. I just had to kind of look for one, and he came up in my mind. You can go for anyone in the squad. As you can see, the one thing I'm a little bit worried about is the whole bench situation. As if you look at here, if Dendoncker doesn't start, then I'm kind of a little bit screwed, especially with Lundstrom being a little bit of a punt. That's why I was saying that if I have some certainty on my bench, then I could go for Walker Peters, as he will be my only punt that I kind of go for. But otherwise, I think that Walker Peters could be a good option, and then we could easily transfer him out once he doesn't get rotated. Okay, as I was making this team, I did see... so Daniel is saying, what if King... Kyle Walker Peters and Perez are benched, then I'll probably be a little bit screwed, eh? I think we did have another donation here from Amir K. He has donated for the second time to the channel, last stream donating $5 and this stream donating $3. So please review my team 443. So luckily Amir has the exact same keeper kind of that I've gone for. I'm going to leave... Okay, so we will sub in Kelly for Lundstrom, as maybe you kind of want me to assess it a little bit. I'm just trying to see which players you have that are very similar to me. Not that many, except for maybe... Okay, you do. You have Salah, Sterling, and Perez the same as me. So you do have Dendoncker. You have Robbo. You don't have Digne. You don't have Zinchenko, and you don't have them. Okay. So one Basaka goes in there. You have Kyle Walker, who I like. He's a little bit more of an assured option for that Man City defense. And then you have Coleman. And then in the midfield, you have... I don't really know who you have. I don't think you've listed the bench. So I will probably just put in Vardy. And then you have... Oh, then you probably just have another cheap... Oh, you have Hayden. My bad. Sorry for not reading that. But then you have Hayden... So let's go and look at your lineup. Amir, thanks again for the donation. I really appreciate it. So let's look at this lineup here. Papa Smurth, congrats on 10K. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Pranesh Shan saying, Davey, good luck for the season. Good luck to you too. I hope that it's a great one and we all get lots of points. So basically what you're probably going to have here is, I don't know, you're probably playing Wan-Bissaka, as you don't have a Chelsea player, so there's not really that much of a contradiction in this lineup. Pope, defense looks solid, midfield looks solid, and attack looks solid. You actually have me thinking it looks like quite a good team, Amir. I actually really like this team. Don't worry, I probably won't copy, but I think that you're onto something here. Obviously, the only maybe problem that you might have is the Leicester double up if kind of Leicester don't get off to a good start. But I think you've got the right combination here of Perez and Vardy. As in my personal opinion, they're going to be playing that centre forward, playing a centre forward position in and around that starting position. So a good option here from Coleman, the cheap alternative to Digne, but I guess you kind of had to squeeze that budget out. Hayden is a assured starter, apparently. Some Newcastle fans have said that he should be starting. So I think that Hayden is going to be a good option. I think Kelly is an adequate 4 mil, but you can kind of chop and change him easily whoever you want. And then Dendoncker is fine. I actually really like this team. In terms of 4-3-3s, it looks very good. I like the Vardy punt. I think people have kind of dropped off him a little bit, including myself, as I've kind of opted for that midfield of the midfield of Leicester a little bit more than the attacking threat. But I think that Vardy is always kind of going to be the main man for that starting lineup. But otherwise, I think you've got a fantastic team here, brother, and I'm glad that we've been able to showcase it here, and I think that he's gone for enough consistency of starts. I think Walker's almost guaranteed to start in that Man City lineup. Robertson, Wan-Bissaka and Coleman. Maybe Coleman, if they do sign Sidibe, could be under a little bit of concern. But otherwise, I can't really fault this team, and I like that you kind of have a little bit of backup on the bench here in case some other players are injured. Okay, so now moving on to, we have Andre K. So this is actually quite interesting. We have Amir K and then Andre K both donating. Unfortunately, Andre K has not left a message. He's donated $5. So if you have just donated $5, I really appreciate the support for the channel. But I will look out in chat if you maybe have dropped your team and you've asked me to kind of look at it. As I think that I won't hold you against that mistake. But so far, I can't see your team here. But so I'm just going to kind of take it as a nice little donation there from you. So I really appreciate the support for the channel. And I hope you've been enjoying the stream. If you have just joined, then enjoy the rest of it. Rakesh Saha is saying, why not Villa defensive options? So Rakesh, I do think that Villa have some very nice fixtures. And if I was to go for them, I probably would go for... I probably would go for Gilbert. He seems to be worrying about. No, sorry, I just was reading a message from chat. He seems to be the most attacking option, and he does seem to be nailed there. So I would probably go for Gilbert. They have assured their defense with their signings this season. So I think that I probably would look at him. And then in terms of other options, you could probably go for maybe some of their centre backs. But as I said, Gilbert looks like the nailed on option. Ivar's saying that I think Pank Gaming wants to know about Mane, and I can see what about Mane? So Mane is set to kind of not start game week 1. He just returned to the Liverpool training ground today, so I think that Klopp's going to give him some time off to get him into the lineup. And then he probably would be a good option. The thing is, I would probably start with Salah and then downgrade him to Mane if you see so fit, as it's an easy rotation there. But without Salah, it's quite hard to get him into your squad. So we have Young Thug here saying, how's it, Davey? Bit late. Is this your new team? So this isn't my new team, but it's kind of quite similar. I only have Robertson, Zinchenko, and Digne, with Wan-Bissaka going to going to Kyle Walker-Peters, and then I've fitted in KDB, and I've downgraded Vardy to Greenwood. So this is just a team. This was Amir K's team. He asked me to review it, so I did. But you can kind of maybe just go back a little bit in the stream and you'll see it. Someone asked me to kind of get a team in, so I just reviewed it a little bit earlier. So in terms of other questions in the chat, we have, good afternoon, Davey. What's your thought on Matt Ritchie? So I'll probably just show you the fixtures of Newcastle, and then I'll kind of let that be my deciding factor. I think that Matt Ritchie is a great option, especially the fact that he is on penalties, but I just don't trust this Newcastle defense up until game week 9. They just have some very terrible fixtures, and I know Newcastle are defensively sound, but I think going into the new season, I don't know if I trust them that much. So I think that after this first couple fixtures, we can go into it. Coming in at 5.5 is also a little bit expensive, so I'd probably go for someone with the likes of Coleman or Emerson, and then as you can see, he's also got a little bit of a knock, so it's unexpected if he's going to be starting. Kartik saying, why Pope over Ryan? It's a toss-up. It's a little bit of a 50-50 for me. I think in these 3 fixtures, I don't think he's going to be getting any clean sheets, but afterwards he's got some nice ones, and I never like using a transfer on a goalkeeper. So that's kind of why I've gone for someone like this, as he's a little bit of a better option than Ryan, in my opinion, especially if one of Duffy or Dunks leaves Brighton, as with Leicester losing Harry Maguire, they could come in and kind of announce that lineup for for them. So Keen, thanks for the advice, helpful. Hopefully it has been, and that wasn't sarcastic. Jay Rid saying Bobueti or Burvos. Those are quite different things, but I'll probably go for Bobueti. What about Alisson and KDB? Wouldn't go for Alisson. I would go for one of the other Liverpool defenders. And KDB is a great option. I do have him in my latest draft. So some people were asking me to just kind of put up the team of my latest draft. So it's literally just a little bit of a switch up here from a more defensive or more attacking kind of lineup to a more midfield stacked. I've gone for Zinchenko there, and then literally just swapped out Wan-Bissaka to... I'm kind of checking to see here if I have made another mistake, but it doesn't look like it. Too many players from Man City. Oh, I must just downgrade Walker and then bring in... Who did I have in for 5.5? Oh, I had Digne here, and then I had Kyle Walker-Peters. My bad, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, sorry. I put Walker in instead of him. Naz Khan with the £5 donation through Super Chat saying, loving the channel, David. Congrats on the 10K. I appreciate it a lot, Naz Khan. You're a regular viewer of the channel, so I appreciate the support and your continued viewing of it. I hope that you have a cracking FPL season, and hopefully we can win whatever mini league you are in. So this was my kind of team that I threw together. Doesn't look that bad in my opinion. We're just going to swap out KDB here. And then we kind of have my team that I've kind of pondered a little bit. So some of you were asking me to bring it back. So here it is. Oh, yeah. Thanks a lot, Todd Carlson. He just says Lundstrom instead of Martin Kelly. A little bit of a small change there, but he is correct. So this is kind of who I've gone for. And this is the lineup this is my latest draft. But I will be creating my next draft video towards the end of the week with the final Game Week 1 deadline squad. So you guys don't have to stress too much. I got you. Thoughts on Siggy? Great option. Oh, David Pot also asking their opinions on Siggy and Richarlison, please. So I'm going to tell you my initial thoughts before they signed Keane. I thought that Richarlison would play that centre forward spot, and then I was heavily considering him as, I think if you all remember last season and the seasons before, when Richarlison has played that centre forward spot, he has always been in the points. So I would 100% be looking at him. I currently, in my initial drafts, I had Siggy in my squad, but just their preseason form's been a little bit disappointing. Their fixtures are fantastic. That's why I will probably have an Everton player come Game Week 1. Currently have Lucas Digne, but that could be doubled up with another player. But I think that with the Everton players, it's a little bit tough. I think that they are great options just because of their and very nice fixtures. Papa Smurf saying, thoughts on Martial too, please. So with Martial, I covered him a little bit at the start of the stream. I just think that he's probably a safe punt to go for if you want to go for a punt. And I think that at 7.5, if I am correct, I think he is 7.5. He could be a good option. I think that if you can stretch your budget a little bit, I probably would go for Pogba. However, with Pogba, there's kind of been this little bit of a back injury that could be a little bit of fake news, and he could be kind of forcing his way out of the squad. But I think that if I was to take a punt on a Manchester United player, it probably would be Martial. He seems to be kind of rotating with that centre forward spot a little bit, and any kind of out of position player is going to be good. Then previously in chat, we also had Nish, I think it's Nish Barvani, saying, hey Dave, you've been watching since 1K and want to congratulate you for 10K. Was nice seeing your channel grow. I tweeted you my squad. Would be an honor for you to review it. God bless. I probably will review it a little bit later on Twitter then. I just don't have Twitter open currently. But thanks for the continued support, especially since 1K. I appreciate it, and thanks for the God bless, and God bless you too. We have a little bit of a spam here in the chat, so I'd appreciate it if you guys stopped it a little bit. I've answered quite a couple of questions on Barkley. I'm dropping a video tomorrow saying with the best preseason players, I've gone for about top 6. So you can kind of look at my views on there and kind of cover it. James saying, will Jota get rotated? The Wolves have signed a new centre forward, so it'll be quite interesting to see where he kind of fits in there. I don't know if you remember last season, but Jota kind of always got rotated and substituted a little bit earlier, kind of on the 70-minute mark, with Jimenez playing a lot more minutes. That's why if you go to the minutes played last season, Jota's played a lot less. So it's an interesting one. It's going to be interesting to see how he rotates. I personally think that I'd probably avoid Wolves strikers from the start and then bring them in around a little bit later on, as I think that there's enough time with their bad fixtures to kind of assess the situation. And you don't want to be bringing in a Jimenez or Jota and then they get rotated every second game, if you know what I'm saying. Hey Davey, thoughts on having 6.5 forwards? That's perfectly fine if you set with them. I know a lot of people have kind of gone for a Jota and King up front, or Delafeu and King, but there are other options like that the player from Aston Villa, the centre forward. I forget his name every single time I cover him. Wesley. You can go for Wesley. Should be a good option, and if you want to take a punt on kind of a cheaper striker, you can go for him. Also, the likes of the Burnley strikers have been hitting some very nice form. So there's definitely no set strategy to go for. And whatever your team how your team sets out the best is up to you. And just go for what you kind of think is a good signing. Do you know who's the next penalty taker for City if Aguero off the pitch? So I don't know who's probably the next penalty. I'd like to think that a player like Sterling is on, but you could probably have a player like De Bruyne. But even a player like David Silva could be on. So that could be interesting. Lee Aussie 2 asking Pereira for Watford, is he going to be fit for game week 1? And he also says, thanks for well done on 10K. Well deserved, my friend. Thanks a lot, brother. Thanks for the £2 donation there. I really appreciate it. So let's go into Google and type in Premier League. Actually, let me just bring it up on this screen here. Premier League injuries. So this is what I covered in the last video. It's kind of a Premier League kind of table to go over. I covered it in my top tips for beginner players. That this is the site that I kind of use. If you're not following Ben Dinnery on Twitter, I'd highly recommend it, as this is his site. He basically just tweets out this information. But you can kind of just go here and you can say, okay, let's go for Watford. Roberto Pereira, reason other. He is training some days with the team, others alone. He will be ready for the game versus Brighton. Not at his best level, but he'll be ready to compete. So what that basically tells me is that Roberto Pereira is set to be back and should be in the starting lineup. Maybe not even in the starting lineup, but off a bench appearance. But that's sometimes fine. You can kind of take a bench appearance from him, as he's not the most expensive player in FPL. So I'd kind of be looking at him as my option to go for. But in terms of other Watford players, you kind of could go for maybe someone like Troy Deeney or Andre Gray, as I know Delafeu is kind of on the same boat as Roberto Pereira. They kind of have some knocks, so they might not start that game week 1. Adam Ewart saying, great stream, Davey. Thanks, I appreciate it. We have some other thoughts on Murray from Brighton. Brighton have literally just signed a new striker tonight, so that could kind of put Murray's minutes under threat a little bit. I know that he's kind of getting a little bit older and they usually rest him for most away games, so I'd probably look at an alternative to him. But if you kind of want to go for him, then you can go for him. But I think maybe go on a punt of Trossard or someone like even Locadia. He seems to be good. One thing I wanted to note is I hear it through my headphones now, but I don't have my headphones on. Is the subscriber sound fine? Is the volume okay, or is it too loud? I appreciate feedback on that, as I said, I can't watch the stream while I am streaming, so I'd appreciate if you guys just drop down below if it's too loud. But I did hear that donation, luckily, so I can read it here. Zabo asking what to do with 0.5 mil in bank. Ryan, Kelly, Robertson, Virgil, Zinchenko, Digne, Lundstrom, Salah, Sterling, Perez, Moura, Dendonka, King, Wilson, and Greenwood. So that lineup does look quite nice, and I think that you've kind of gone for a good balance there between defense and attack. One thing I probably would do is you could upgrade Zinchenko to Walker if you want a little bit more certainty. Otherwise, I would probably just drop that 0.5 mil on going Lundstrom or Kelly. Probably Kelly, in my opinion. I would go Kelly to another 4.5 defender, the likes of Taylor from Burnley, or I would go for the likes of a Gilbert from Aston Villa. But thanks so much for the donation. $7.24 there. I think that's the biggest donation we have received ever. So thanks, Zabo, for the donation. Hope you've enjoyed the stream, and I hope that answers your question. Dennis saying, great stream. What's your thought on doubling up on TAA and Robertson, then dropping KDB? I think that I don't know if I'm going to be on board with the whole double up in defense, but I think if you had to do it, it would be TAA and Robertson. I think that you have to go for attack in that regard. So I would probably go for Trent and Robbo. I just think that it might be a little bit too risky with them having that expensive price point, and there's a little bit of uncertainty around TAA. But if you want to go for it and kind of have a little bit of a fun start to FPL, then you should go for it. I guess you watched the Copa, the AFCON. How about Trezeguet for a differential, Davey? I wanted to cover him in my new signings video, but he was announced a little bit late. But I think that he should be a great option, and that Aston Villa's side is really starting to look good. I think that if you kind of want to go for a punt, 5.5 is almost minuscule in FPL this season. So I think it could be worth a punt. He seems to have had great stats in previous seasons, and he's only owned by 3.2, so a mega differential, and Aston Villa's fixtures are quite nice. I think that it's worth going for a punt for him. I mean, 5.5, as I said, is nothing, so you could just go for him as a little bit of a differential. Matthew Stitt saying, new viewer, love the stream. Thanks a lot, Matthew. Glad you joined us. Quick thoughts on Ozil at 7.5. Could be a cheap way into 160 points midfielder. So with Ozil, with this Ceballos that's just signed for them, it's going to be interesting to see who plays that cam spot. I like Ozil as a player, but I think that sometimes in FPL, he kind of drops off a little bit. 7.5 is a very cheap price, but my best advice would be that he is 7.5 for a reason. So probably not the best option to go for, and I think that there are other cheap alternatives from Arsenal that are better. And I think that if you're going to go for an Arsenal defender, you probably should go big and go for the likes of Aubameyang or someone like that. Game X saying, any tips for fantasy draft? I would probably just kind of make a watch list or a short list of players you want. And also, if you're playing against more casual players, fill it up with differentials. A lot of people won't know the likes of the cheap alternatives and the kind of players that not many casual players know about. I think an example is probably going to be Zinchenko. You can see that he's only owned by 7.9 amounts of people, so that if you kind of want to go for a kind of mega differential, go for someone like him. But I would probably stick it quite general. Don't take punts on players that you don't know that well, or that you don't think are going to be rotation proof throughout the season. It depends on kind of what draft league you're going for. I think that if you're going for a league where you can't make any transfers, then it's interesting to kind of go for a player that you think is going to do well over the whole season. Someone like Salah, Sterling, or Kane. I think also if you're playing against casual players, they usually won't pick defenders first, so that could be a mega strategy for you to kind of go for defenders when they're going for other premium options up front. So then we have Bolly or Ake. I think that you have to go for Bolly there. I just think that Ake with that Bournemouth defense, it's not great. And I think even though Wolves have tough fixtures, you probably can get a couple more clean sheets than Bournemouth will get. You're probably looking at maybe the Burnley fixture and the Crystal Palace fixture. However, if you want to kind of start off the season with Ake, this would probably be my best strategy. I would go for Southampton, Aston Villa, and then maybe do the switch to another 5.0 defender after that. I would probably bring in Bolly towards the end of that kind of tough run they go for. Dylan B saying, thoughts on Che Adams? I think he's going to be a great signing for Southampton. I think he's going to do a lot of work for them. He looks like a very hard worker and has been picking up a lot of goals and assists in preseason as well. So I think that Danny Ings will probably still be the main man at Southampton, barring if he does get injured. So it looks like Che Adams should still have a good season, and definitely one to take a punt for if you're going for a 6 mil striker. Paul Gallagher saying, stay away from United and Chelsea until after game week 1. You never walk alone, bro. Thanks for tuning in, Paul. I think that I don't think that you should be planning that far ahead with transfers. So if you want a United or Chelsea player in for their game week 2 or 3 fixture, then I would just bring them in. You never know what's going to happen in a top 6 fixture, so probably just play them and see what happens. I probably wouldn't be playing contradictory players like Pogba, say, against Azpilicueta, but other than that, we shouldn't be overlooking Chelsea and United options that much just because of their first game week. What do you think will be the top 3 teams and the last 3? So I think the bottom 3 is going to be Norwich, Sheffield, United, and I'm probably going to go for someone like, it's a tough one for that third spot. Maybe someone like Newcastle or Burnley, and then the top 3, I think Man City, Liverpool, and I think that Spurs could have a good season. But I think if United make the signings that they're talking about with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, they could give it a good run for their money. Then we have Rakesh saying, thoughts on John McGinn. I don't know if you've seen his goal in preseason, but go watch it. He takes it right to the byline and just dribbles the keeper incredibly. A great goal there. And I see that he has been scoring tons of goals this preseason, so it could be a mega differential. I kind of just stay away a little bit from the promoted players, as I just think that sometimes they are a little bit... I have a little bit of caution towards them, as you don't know how they're going to be performing in the Premier League, and it's quite a big step up from the Championship. So if you want to go for kind of a punt and you're a supporter of their team, then I would go for it. But otherwise, maybe stay a little bit safer on other options. But that's the thing, is a lot of the promoted sides, they're very cheap. So it's sometimes worth taking a punt, as you can kind of just bench them if they don't do well. Thoughts on starting all 3 Leicester attackers, Vardy, Perez, and Tielemans. So I think I would only kind of do that if their fixtures were amazing, but their fixtures aren't the best. They have quite a few of the top 6 or top 8 in the opening 8 game weeks. So I think if they had a run of like game week 9 to 17, then I'd say go for it. But I think probably one or two is enough for the start. Matthew Anderson saying, do you have a video describing how bonus points are awarded and how and when price rises / drops happen? Okay, I can just basically explain that to you right now. So with the bonus point system, the heavy weighted factors are basically goals, assists, and clean sheets. And then other points that can kind of be added up are successful shots on target. If a player has a lot of shots off target, then they get a reduction in bonus points, and things like passing and tackling are added a little bit. You'll probably find that the best example I can kind of have is Mohamed Salah. If he scores one goal, he usually doesn't get bonus points just due to the fact that he has a lot of shots off target. But if you have a player that like Glenn Murray, if he scores 1 goal, he usually gets all 3 bonus just because he's quite clinical. Then in terms of price rises and price drops, if a player is not transferred in or out on wildcard, they are considered as a transfer in for a price rise. And if a lot of people are transferring them in and they have a percentage change of over 100%, they kind of get a price rise, and the same for a price drop. Mix Alice, I think I answered your question with the top and bottom 3. Apologies if you didn't hear me. Matthew Stitt saying Ceballos isn't going to start. It's going to be an interesting one to see, but I don't think he's going to start either. It's always just a little bit of an interesting thing to know, because a player signs for a club for a reason. So he might be on loan because he wants to get more minutes under his belt, and then I can kind of understand why he's made that transfer. Martial or Pulisic, I think that I would probably go for, if we have to compare the fixtures of Man United versus the fixtures of, say, Chelsea, I think that if you're going to take a punt, it would probably be on a player like Pulisic. I think that with Pulisic, you kind of guaranteed with him to start, whereas Martial could have a little bit of rotation. What about Ederson? I just think that I'd prefer another outfield Man City player than Ederson in my lineup. And Rakesh saying, will Walker be a potential starter after City signed Cancelo from Juventus? It's going to be an interesting one to see. I think that he's probably going to be guaranteed minutes, Cancelo, so he has to be transferring for a reason. I don't think he'd be leaving for no reason, so I think that we could probably look at him for that, and then kind of give us your thoughts. Okay, but I love your content. Adomas saying, okay, Ryan, Van Dijk, TAA, Digne, Zinchenko. I think your lineup looks really good, and it should bring you a lot of points. I like it. It looks quite balanced. But otherwise, guys, I appreciate you joining this live stream. And if you have not been able to keep up with it, you can watch it. I'll be uploading it probably tonight or tomorrow as it gets finished processing. But otherwise, I really appreciate you joining this 10K celebration, and I hope that it's been informative and you kind of have your drafts kind of a little bit settled right now. So stay tuned for a video. I uploaded a video before I went live, and I'll also be uploading another video tomorrow. And then stay tuned for that final draft or final game week 1 squad. And also will hopefully be streaming before the Game Week 1 deadline, so stay tuned for that. But otherwise, thank you for the continued support on the channel. I really appreciate it, and we hit 300 viewers, so that's basically our record viewer count. So I really appreciate all you joining, and thanks for all the donations as well. I'm sorry I didn't get to all the questions as the chat was kind of pumping a little bit, but as I said, thanks a lot for joining, and I hope that you have enjoyed the stream. I am Dayvy FPL, and I'm signing off. Cheers, bye.